Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp, and right now we're moving to our board welcome with Nate Otto.
Good morning. I'm Nate Otto. I'm president of the board this year, and I use he, him pronouns. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you a spiritual home. We extend a special welcome to our visitors today. We hope you follow our Facebook page to participate in Zoom and receive announcements about special events and our religious exploration classes. Please sign up for our weekly email. There should be a link in the comments section on our Facebook page where you can sign up. We're glad you could join us today.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp. It's wonderful to be with you this morning, and welcome to our online services. Our opening words this morning are from Erica Hewitt. To be a Unitarian Universalist means we'll never be done with the work. The work of telling truth about oppression, the work of resisting any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity. The work of stubbornly seeking out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what. The work of creating heaven on earth. To be a Unitarian Universalist means that we are not alone in the work. We are not alone in our promises to each other, our promises to love one another. And we are not alone because we have companions on the journey. We grow ourselves into allies, helping one another get free, because no one of us is truly free until we all are. Come, let us worship together. So I have some very exciting news. Next Sunday for our UU Eau Claire folks, we will be celebrating in the park with a service at Carson Park at Pine Pavilion at 10 a.m. So we will be in person outside. We have an animal blessing and a backpack blessing. So our educators, our students, bring your backpacks, and we'll have a token given to you by Amy Johnson, our religious exploration coordinator. And we're also going to have a baby dedication. So it is going to be a day of fun and some live music from Pete Kaysberg and Colette Couillard. So I hope you'll join us. Also, stay tuned for our religious exploration updates for the fall. We hope you'll get your children registered, and we're looking forward to getting back together.
Good morning. My name is Susan O'Brien, and I use the pronouns she and her. And we're going to be lighting the chalice. The words of the chalice today lighting today are by Alice Onacheka Naismith. In a time of uncertainty, when everything around us is changing constantly, each day new developments, rising numbers, changing guidelines, when the world we live in suddenly seems upside down and topsy-turvy. We light our chalice to remind ourselves of our grounding in our faith. We remember that the flaming chalice came into being as a beacon of hope during World War II, a secret symbol that offered help. In the midst of it all, we wrap ourselves in the warm light of a familiar flame, a reminder of the strength that emerges when we come together in community. And feel free to light your chalices at home now too. And I'm also your worship associate today, and I'm going to be doing a reading now An excerpt from The Hidden Lives of Trees by Peter Woloman. According to the dictionary definition, language is what people use when we talk to each other. Looked at this way, we are the only beings who can use language, because the concept is limited to our species. But wouldn't it be interesting to know whether trees can also talk to each other? But how? They definitely don't produce sounds, so there's nothing we can hear. Branches creak as they rub against one another and leaves rustle, but these sounds are caused by the wind, and the tree has no control over them. Trees, it turns out, have a completely different way of communicating. They use scent. Scent as a means of communication? The concept is not totally unfamiliar to us. Why else would we use deodorants and perfumes? And even when we're not using these products, our own smell says something to other people, both consciously and subconsciously. There are some people who seem to have no smell at all. We are strongly attracted to others because of their aroma. Scientists believe pheromones in sweat are a decisive factor when we choose our partners. In other words, those with whom we wish to procreate. So it seems fair to say that we possess a secret language of scent, and trees have demonstrated that they do this as well. For example, 4 decades ago, scientists noticed something on the African savanna. The giraffes there were feeding on umbrella thorn acacias, and the trees didn't like this one bit. It took the acacias mere minutes to start pumping toxic substances into their leaves to rid themselves of the large herbivores. The giraffes got the message and moved on to other trees in the vicinity. But did they move on to trees close by? No, for the time being, they walked right by a few trees and resumed their meal only when they had moved about 100 yards away. The reason for this behavior is astonishing. The acacia trees that were being eaten gave off a warming gas, specifically ethylene, that signaled to neighboring trees of the same species that a crisis was at hand. Right away, all the forewarned trees also pumped toxins into their leaves to prepare themselves. The giraffes were wise to this game and therefore moved farther away to a part of the savanna where they could find trees that were oblivious to what was going on, or else they moved upwind. For the scent messages were carried to nearby trees on the breeze, and if the animals walked upwind, they could find acacias close by that had no idea the giraffes were there. Similar processes are at work in our forests here at home. Beeches, spruce, and oaks all register pain as soon as some creature starts nibbling on them. When a caterpillar takes a hearty bite out of a leaf, the tissue around the site of the damage changes. In addition, the leaf tissue sends out electrical signals, just as human tissue does when it is hurt. However, the signal is not transmitted in milliseconds as human signals are. Instead, the plant signal travels at the slow speed of 1/3 of an inch per minute. Accordingly, it takes an hour or so before defensive compounds reach the leaves to spoil the pest's meal. Trees live their lives in the really slow lane, even when they are in danger. But this slow tempo doesn't mean that a tree is not on top of what is happening in different parts of its structure. If the roots find themselves in trouble, this information is broadcast throughout the tree, which can trigger the leaves to release scent compounds. And not just any old scent compounds, but compounds that are specifically formulated for the task at hand. And now Reverend Lepp and I are going to read part of A Place of Wholeness. And this was written by Greta Anderson. Have you ever thought of our faith as an ancestral tree? It can be awe-inspiring to see the numerous roots and branches that make up our religious family. The roots of the tree are the values we hold dear, such as reason, tolerance, and freedom, hope, faith, and love. These roots have brought forth many ancestors, carrying these values out into the world. Though they have passed before us, they are still somehow with the family, kept alive in memories and stories, or the values they passed on to us. This is the trunk from which the tree gets its strength. It is what unites us, perhaps in name, but also those very stories, memories, and values that endure. Who are the ancestors who have supported this faith? Arias in Oregon, Joseph Priestley, Susan Murray, Hosea Balu, Olympia Brown, Louisa May Alcott, and Susan B. Anthony. There are other more recent UUs too, such as Adlai Stevens, Mae Sarton, Kurt Vonnegut, and Whitney Young. None of these ancestors asks us to be exactly like them. Rather, the tradition they represent offers us security, inspiration, and a place to start our faith journeys, or if you will, our flight. You know many of the traditions our ancestors stood for: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience, and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. The family tree of Unitarian Universalism was watered by various streams of thought and belief. Unitarianism holds that God is one. Universalism holds that everyone is saved, not just a certain group. These are the two major streams of thought, but there are others. There are Eastern and pantheist traditions. These sources fed the writings of figures such as Emerson and Thoreau. More recently, there are neo-pagan streams that can awaken our senses to the natural world, and atheist streams, which can ground our thinking in rationality. All of our sources keep the tradition alive and organic, ever growing, ever changing.
The UU community comprises the branches of the family tree, growing and changing to find light, the multifaceted truth that we all seek. On these branches are leaves, individual members of congregations. Each leaf is positioned in a unique place to absorb the sunlight in their own way. These leaves give life to the tree even after they have fallen, nourishing the roots of our tradition with the realities of its faith's members, truth-seeking, compassionate, justice-seeking, nature-conscious faith. The fruits of this tree, imagine the apples and the oranges and the peaches, are the writing and the music, the poetry and the conversation, and the rituals that have developed as expressions of this tradition, the songs that we sing each Sunday, the lighting of the chalice, and the beautiful words that we hear, the silence of our meditation. These are all fruits. The fruits of this tree also include actions such as the abolition movement or the works of Martha and Waitstill Sharp, who helped hundreds of Jews and other refugees escape Nazi persecution. It is also in the current Side with Love campaign that lobbies national leaders on immigration reform, racial justice, equality for LGBTQ persons, religious freedom, and more. We all work to make love real in this world. The congregation in which you find yourself grounded in, rooted in values and supported by a history of courageous people, it continues to grow and change. We've all seen that this year, but will always be there to shelter and to protect its members. You are the birds of the tree. You have taken the fruits of the tree through music and stories and friendships. You have absorbed the essence of the UU tradition, been nourished by it and by what it has to give. But the time will come for each of you to take flight. The tree and its fruits cannot tell you in what direction to fly. They give you hope, courage, and sustenance, a place to look out and see the possibilities, and of course, a place to always come home. Thank you. Now is the time in our service where we share our deepest joys and concerns. If you have a joy or concern that you would like to share, you can share it now in the chat, and we will read it in this community and of care, which spans several congregations that are visiting us today. And we will have a moment of silence now as you type out your joys and concerns. I'd like to share a joy for our oldest child, Kendra Lepp, turns 18 today. So 18 years ago, my bright, beautiful child came into the world. I'm so grateful. Would also like to light a candle of concern for those in Louisiana and New Orleans in the path of the hurricane that's coming down. We wish them safety and support in the midst of this turmoil. Betty shares concerns for the Afghans. We light a candle for those concerns. And Linda May shares, thank you for holding frontline healthcare workers in your thoughts and heart. And Steph and Cohen share the joy that my son has received for the past 5+ years at daycare and preschool, and the support they have shown him as he transitions into kindergarten. Very good. Get those words out. And Jennifer, joy for my daughter Stephanie, who is starting her senior year at UW River Falls. Wonderful. Light this candle. A joy from Shasta Chamberlain. My joy is I've made it to a live service for the first time in over a year. Congratulations, Shasta. Also a joy for the folks in our tech committee who this afternoon will be working on our in our sanctuary to help with our streaming preparation. And Ashley asked for a candle for a smooth transition as she is moving this coming week. And Jackie shares a concern for water protectors as they continue to struggle to stop Line 3 pipeline. Patty shares concern for my friends Andrew and Carrie who are suffering through and enduring watching a loved one suffer from COVID-19. Rachel shares joy for my 2 kids who are starting school in person this year, gratitude for educators and supporting them through the uncertainties of this year. I'd like to add a candle to that as well. Thank you. I'm going to light this final candle for all the joys and concerns too tender to escape the folds of our heart. If you'll join me in the words found in the chat. Love is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So I am now moving into our talk today, which is when trees speak. So of course, when I think about this, I think about the Lorax and who will speak for the trees. And we know that it is a time right now where climate change is very evident in our world, very aware of the fires. And we were in South Dakota for a family trip and could barely see as we drove down the highway from all the fires that were coming from the boundary waters. And while at the same time, there is so much to be concerned about, there is also that joy that we find in this time of year in connecting with nature, grounding ourselves in that spirit of the earth. The more we learn about nature, the more we learn that there is more to understand. Trees speak to each other, warning of predators and danger. They nourish one another, thinking of the collective instead of just the individual. According to the 3,000-year-old Scandinavian poetic Edda, Yggdrasil is the world tree, and it stands at the center of the universe. And as Unitarian Universalists, many of us have different holy symbols. For some, the tree of life is a symbol of power and of grounding. Trees are the center of entire ecologies. We think of the redwood tree, where it has many little ecosystems, or the ecosystem of the rainforest. What are trees telling us? Can we hear them? Can we listen? It's interesting. I don't know if you've listened to read or listened to The Hidden Life of Trees. But Susan Simard was the ecologist most quoted in The Hidden Life of Trees. And she discovered that trees grow better close together, contrary to what your landscaper may tell you. Grow better because they communicate via long threads of fungi. They connect to each other much farther than their own roots. They have a symbiotic relationship with fungi. And while most trees help those within their own species, some symbiotic relations go to other trees, such as the birch and the fir. Trees also, as we heard earlier, communicate via electronic impulses, though they go the slow way of trees. So it isn't just in Lord of the Rings that trees speak to each other, or in a Captain Planet cartoon. Trees speak to us as we walk through the park, as we go onto the mountain path, as we go into our local backyard. Trees have lessons in learning to live together and nurturing community, that interdependent web, moving from I to thou, caring for the whole community. You know, Paul Wellstone said, we all do better when we all do better. We need to be a part of that life around us. And I think it is easy to become separate, to forget that we are a part of that nature. And there's something so terribly important about touching earth and green things. I know when I've struggled with the news or struggled with concern over the pandemic, if I can just get somewhere and touch dark earth and feel the growing and the nurture, there's something there. And I know it's chemical that helps me feel better. And also that connection to life. You know, and here in the Midwest, feeling the crunch of snow and the bite of wind on your face makes you feel alive. Running your hand along the water when your canoe slips into the lake. Listening to the sound of lapping waves or bullfrogs at night, their calls echoing in the darkness. People like Henry David Thoreau believed that the wild natural places were necessary to the spirit of humanity to be whole, for us to wholly experience life, not to be cut away. The gentle touch of blossoming petals, the power of spring as it bursts through the snow and an urgent need to bloom. Right now, the late summer garden, my poor sunflowers tipped from these recent storms, but other flowers so happy for the water. Finding a place to get away from the hum of our refrigerator, the noise of our cell phones, Just hear the sounds of crickets, wind, trees. In the words of Wendell Berry, when despair in the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. And we know that people are trying to protect those waters, trying to protect those lands. I am the Lorax, and I speak for the trees. So are you. You are also the Lorax. Hopefully we can all speak for the trees, or at least listen to what they are saying to us. Have you ever sat on a hill and watched the sky change color, just like the magic paintbrush that had painted the skies in reds and oranges? And then there's this moment, this brief moment where time stretches and changes, and even young children quiet themselves in awe. I know I did that when my children were small, observing a sunset on a hill on the land of a sheep farm, listening to the wind as it touched the grasses. And that was awe, wonder, and just as important as any line in a sacred text, any sermon or hymn that touched me and moved me and my children. In the 19th century, Ralph Waldo Emerson and other transcendentalists believed in the spark within, that divine spark which connects all things, believing that you can't get there by reason alone, but you need intuition, creativity, and direct experience. Transcendentalists had faith, as modern UUs do, that you can find your spiritual truths without the intercession of a priest or scholar or a book. When the holy is in everything and everyone, the only thing that separates us is our perceptions. Are we listening to the trees? Ralph Waldo Emerson said in his essay, Nature, in 1836, standing on the bare ground, my hair bathed in blithe air and uplifted to infinite space, all mean egotism vanishes. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. The currents of the universal being circulate through me. I am part and parcel of God. Transparent eyeball. Can you imagine an eyeball in your head? Opening your consciousness to everything. It's mind-blowing to think of the idea that we are so connected in all these mysterious ways. And I know some of you have learned about the biomes that come from ourselves and communicate with others. And there's so much. There's mysticism in all around us. In the book, The Lorax warns and warns and warns us. And they keep making the kerflumps or whatever the name. They keep doing all the factories and the kerflumps and somebody will tell me what the name of those are. And they keep making the pointless things. And the Lorax keeps saying, but that's not what matters. Needs, thank you. Somebody posted that for me. We don't need needs. We don't need so much single-use plastic. What is it that we need? What is it that we need? We need fresh air. We need to love one another and care for one another. And it seems so simple and yet so hard. I think some of my most profound spiritual experiences have been in nature, rafting through the mist of rising dawn, feeling the awe of a sudden storm claim the ocean's horizon, feeling the peace of laying in summer grass, looking up at the stars. It takes time, takes wild spaces, takes intentions. the great teachers like Jesus who went out into the desert to seek answers, and Siddhartha who sought spiritual truth while meditating under the Bodhi tree, seeking new insights, transformation. We are lucky that we still have these moments and these times, that we can feel accompanied by those great and mighty trees in our woods, the great and mighty nature around us. I know I have felt accompanied in times of grief by nature, feeling the support of world and life itself, lifting me away from my worries. I can lean against a tree and cry into its bark. I can sit beneath its branches and be cradled, protected, the gentle caress of a breeze. One time when I was visiting my brother in Florida, I saw a pod of dolphins playing in the water. We were in a bright red boat. The wind was in my hair and the sun on my face. The elements were all around me. And I felt lifted from that moment, lifted into something bigger, like I was a part of that dolphin pod, like I was a part of the wind and the water, and something connected and moved me. And maybe it was like that transparent eyeball on my head, but it moved me to understand that this is something important. Life, our planet, our connection, it's vital. The Reverend Victoria Safford said, even as a tiny girl singing, "Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so," I remember thinking that maybe there is an embracing love, immortal, invisible, radiating through the cosmos, touching even me. But if there is, it cannot be just because the Bible tells me so. It must go deeper, older, wilder, more reliable than that. I remember wanting those sky gods to rise up from thrones and become little birds flying up beyond the sky to fix themselves as stars, or fluttering down to the earth, spilling as drops of rain splashing on my hand. What is it that will move us, that will move others to understand that we are transformed, that we are so connected to one another? It is our breath, our oxygen, our nest in this little tiny planet spinning in the left-hand corner of the galaxy. We're here on this bright blue ball. I am the Lorax, and I speak for the trees. I've seen foxes and woodchucks and pileated woodpeckers this summer, other signs of nature in my garden, feeling that sense of nature. Ralph Waldo Emerson, nature says, "Thou shalt keep the air, skate, swim, walk, ride, and run. When you have worn out your shoes, the strength of the sole leather has passed into the fiber of your body. I measure your health not by the number of shoes and hats," we'll add needs in there, "or clothes you have worn out. He is the richest man who pays the largest debt to his shoemaker." Living life. We are a spectrum of people on a journey. We talked about the different sources of wisdom that fuel our tradition, our passion for justice, our questions. Ever since humanity began thinking of things, why is the sky there? Why am I here? We sat around fires and built community and looked for meaning. Religion comes from the word religare, that which binds us together. The trees speak to one another. And I hope we can speak for the trees, listen to the trees, and that we can speak to one another. That's really hard these days, isn't it? It's hard when we are so divided on many things, thinking of ways that we can spread our branches to protect, to love, to reach out, and hold strong in our roots, and then just like from the fruits of the tree, to give those fruits out to others, to share what we have learned. And then the birds flying on and sharing and coming back home again. We are a faith that has many and broad and wide paths, but we are a faith with deep roots and large wings. I am the Lorax, and I speak for the trees. Amen and blessed be. Now is the time in our service where we share of our bounty with others. This summer, we have shared with the Chippewa Valley LGBTQ Center here in Eau Claire. And in July and August, that has been our 50-50 share the plate. For our UUC folks, you can donate by texting 84321. Or you can also donate online, or checks can be made payable to UUC, and our address is 421 South Farwell Street in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The offering will now be given and so very gratefully received.
I folded her clothes, I loaded the car. I knew that the drive to the Goodwill store wouldn't be very far. I sat in her chair, I stared at her bed. I remembered the times and the words that I wish that we both had said. They say that she's gone, there's nothing to do. I ought to accept that a part of my life is through. But somewhere inside I hear her again, reminding me of the truth she showed again and again. We're in this together. Your pain is not your own, though we may not touch each other. You are not alone. And when this all is over, and when our time has come, we'll reach for one another, and we will be home. And I sit in your room, I see you stare at your walls. Compared to the world, you think your problems seem very small. You're missing your job, your cousin is ill, your money is low and the mail just brings you too many bills. You're reading alone, there's little to say. You used to accomplish a whole lot more in a day. But I'm over here, I feel just like you. Just give me a call and we can help each other get through. We're in this together. Your pain is not your own, though we may not touch each other. You are not alone. And when this all is over, and when your time has come, we'll reach for one another,
And now is the time to extinguish our chalice. But I need a moment because I'm blown away by the music we just heard. That was amazing, Ken and Laura. And please join with me in extinguishing your chalice at home with the wonderful words by Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now our closing words today are by Norman Mailer, entitled "Be a Branch of the Tree of Life." Our eyes and minds turn now toward the ordinary, leaving the space made sacred by our presence. Take with you at least some seed of understanding, hope, and courage, and drop it into the confusion of the world. Nourish the seed that it might grow as a tree of life, giving shelter to the weary and hope to the despairing. Be yourself a branch of the tree of life. Amen.